Hello everyone. I wish happy Independence Day to everyone here. We at Newton School strive towards bringing students to achieve their dream of becoming full stack developers. Our students have achieved tremendous success in the last 1 year and have been placed with sky high packages. Today, we welcome you to Career Launchpad, a conclave where you meet dignitaries from Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Flipkart, MySurgery, and gain the right knowledge to kickstart your tech career. Today, we shall be talking to Mr. Priyank Goyal on how to prepare for Google, followed by a talk by Mr. Pratik Golsha on understanding how to make the right resume for you. We shall be followed by a talk with Mr. Tinku Monish and understand the game plan of achieving the right job at Facebook. This shall be followed by a workshop with Mr. Siddharth Maheshwari, and where we will be understanding the basics of Python programming. This workshop would be at 7 p.m. So, without much further ado, let's start talking to Mr. Priyank Goyal.
Hey, hi everyone. Hey, thanks Gopi for the quick introduction. I wish everyone a very happy Independence Day and thank you everyone for joining, given that it's a public holiday. I'll just share my screen and post that we can start. Is my screen visible, Gopi?
Yes, Priyank.
Sure. Cool. Thank you. Great. So hi, hello everyone, and I hope that you are healthy and safe at your homes. I wish that this time would be non-corona free so that we can have this somewhere like in life. But currently we have to deal with this. So as mentioned already, my name is Priyank Goyal. I work as a software engineer at Google. My hometown is in Bareilly, UP. I did my BTech in computer science and engineering from IIT BHU Varanasi. I graduated in 2015. Uh, as of now, I have around 5 years of industry experience as a software engineer, and I'll complete 1 year in Google next week. In this session, I'm going to speak about that how can you prepare for Google, and the way it's going to progress is that I have this pre-prepared talk for some time, and then we can move towards some live questions. One of the reasons why I wanted to speak in this session is that over the last few years, I had a talk with a lot of people, especially a lot of students, and I got to know the various pain points that they face when it comes to preparing for the interviews or how to land a job in a good product-based company. And I believe that after spending 5 years in the industry, now I have a good enough knowledge on this topic, and I can give correct advice on this. As a mandatory disclaimer, I'd like to tell you that whatever I'll be speaking here are my own thoughts and experiences, and I'm speaking here in my personal capacity and not acting on behalf of Google or any other companies that I might mention in this webinar. So one good thing is that this talk is not just limited to preparation for Google. Actually, you can get prepared for any of the software engineering interviews for any company, be it FANG or any startup. So I'll start with the basics and then I can get into the preparation strategies and interview tips and tricks. So how to start coding. So basically the main crux of the webinar is that how can you start coding? Coding is the basic backbone software engineering on which software engineering depends on. How to start coding is a question that everyone like who is aiming to become a software engineer has at least once in their journey. So there might be a lot of you who might be still having this question, especially if you are someone from a non-CS background, someone who might be from like civil, chemical, biotech, mechanical, etc. The advantage that the people with the CS branch have is that they have a programming language course in their subjects that they have to study mostly in the first year. That gives them a kickstart, but this is not true with the other fields, and they have to take all the efforts by themselves. So the first step to start with coding is to choose a programming language and start learning it. One of the biggest questions that comes to people's mind is that what language should I pick to start? And believe me, this is where most of the students get confused and stuck, and they are not able to move ahead. My thoughts on this are that, and by the way, I have formed this opinion as I've seen this over the past 5 years, that how much language choice matters in the interviews or in competitive programming. So I think that if you are applying for a language specific job like a Java developer or a C++ expert, then is the place where the language choice will matter and play an important role. But if you are not applying for a language specific role, if you are applying for a general software engineer role, then language choice will not be a constraint in an interview, especially in big MNCs in FANG and others. And obviously, no language is perfect. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages. So I'll tell you that what I chose. I started with the programming language C, because C is a programming language which was taught to us when we were in the first year of the college. So it was as a course in the first semester. So it's a mandatory course that we have to do. So if you have already chosen a language, great, go ahead with that. But if you need an advice on choosing the language, I'll say that pick one between C++, Java, Python, and JavaScript. Each of these languages has a book for beginners, so you can just go ahead and buy the book and study. Though there are a lot of other languages available, but I would recommend these languages to start with because of a few advantages. Like, these languages are widely known languages, and a lot of people generally use these in competitive programming. So if you start with these, you can easily check that what is the other person's code, and you can understand the editorials, the tutorials. You can find some help on the internet because these are some common programming languages that people use. Uh, Apart from that, these languages are often used in the real world applications also inside most of the companies. So you can also use them further in your jobs as well in the real life when you will start coding in your professional world. And third thing is that these are object oriented languages, and you will also get an idea of OOPS, like which is the object oriented programming, and which will again be beneficial for you in the long run. So yeah, so just to try to choose one language from them if you haven't already. This can be a good starting point for you. So okay, so after choosing a language, what to do next? So I'll suggest that do not jump directly on data structures and algorithms on learning DSA. Try to learn the basics of that language first. And with basics, what I mean is that it can include small things like learning the syntax of the language. How do you put loops inside the language? How do you declare variables? How do you take inputs and read the files, etc. And you can also learn basics like how memory management works in this language and other stuff also. I think a realistic timeline to learn a language is 1 month. I think in 1 month you can learn the basics of any language from scratch. So after choosing the language, at this point, I've seen a lot of students getting another big question, that how to learn data structures and algorithms. And should they start competitive programming directly, or they should study something from the textbooks first and then start with competitive programming? So the way that I would advise is that try to learn the basics of the DSA first from the books, and then do competitive programming to strengthen it. So the basic idea, the basic data structures and algorithms include things like arrays, linked lists, trees, sorting algorithms like binary search, uh, and we have graph algorithms like DFS, BFS, we have recursion, we have dynamic programming and stuff. These are the basic DS and A. So if you get some idea of the basic DSA, then it will be helpful for you to understand that how can you exactly use this when you are doing competitive programming. Again, a realistic timeline to get to know the basics of all these is around 1 month. That, remember, you just need to get the basics. You don't need to become expert here. You just need to know the terms and know the basic structure of the algorithm, maybe a pseudo code, that how will you use these algorithms when you will be solving some real world problems, or when you will be solving some problems on competitive programming websites, so that you can strengthen these concepts over the time. Cool. So after this, now the next step is that how to get involved in competitive programming. A question that many of you might have is that, does competitive programming really helps in improving data structures and algorithm skills? So the answer is that you actually need to digest the fact that the number of algorithms that you will be learning, that you will be studying, are limited, but the questions are not. The implementations of these algorithms are not limited. The count of questions that exist right now are huge. And obviously, you cannot solve every problem beforehand. So, for your purpose, what you can do is when you are learning DSA, you should be able to develop the skill that if you see any new problem, if you are seeing any problem for the first time, you should be able to think that what all data structures can be used to solve the problem efficiently, and you should be able to imply it also. You should be able to write the code so that it solves, and it should be time complexity wise it should be the most optimal, and space complexity wise also it should be the best. uh, and obviously you have to choose the correct data structure. For that there are multiple solutions for a same problem. You have to know the trade-offs between multiple solutions, and also should be able to explain to the person that why exactly you are choosing that, because there's a very high chance that the problem that you will be given in an interview are new, and you would have not seen that problem before. So yeah, developing this skill is really important, and I can assure you that if you develop the skill of thinking about the correct data structure when you see a problem, then you can clear any coding interview for any of the companies. Okay, so again, it's a story time that how I started competitive programming when I was in college. So the first step that I have to do is that first I have to learn a language. So there was this C language which was there in my first semester of college, which was in 2011. So I learned the basics of C and some data structures from that, and then in the summer vacation, after the first year, I thought of starting on competitive programming. So the very first code that I submitted was on this website called Code Forces. So around June 2012, which was around 8 years back. And in my summer vacations, I practiced competitive programming on code forces to get an idea around how competitive programming looks like, how it feels when you submit that code and it runs on that website and you pass the test cases, how it feels. So uh, I practiced competitive programming majorly in C or C++. Although I have learned C, but C++ is also kind of similar. It has added advantages on C, that like one example is that it has STL, which is the standard template library. So I can get a lot of functions which are existing in the library, so I can directly use that. And apart from coding in C and C++, I also learned some basics of Java and Python too. Well, I learned this while doing some programming, and there is website called Project Euler, in which you do like in which you solve problems. So that's how I learned different languages. And for practicing more, I just sorted the questions by the order of difficulty, and I started solving the easiest one first, because at that time the main focus that I was having is around practice, to get to know how it feels when you start competitive programming or coding. So it was more about to get an idea of the platform. And just a sec, I got the question. Is there some message on chat? Okay, I will just continue. So yeah, so I practiced there for around 2 months, and I started practicing on CodeChef 2 after Code Forces. Uh, After that, I started taking part in long and short competitive events on both these websites. Taking part in short events, develops the capability to think about the solution in a time-bound situation, and you need to think about the correct and efficient solution at that time. Else, you'll lose points, and your rank will suffer. So I continued this, and later I came to know about the other sites like Spodge, HackerRank, HackerEarths, etc. So I tried these platforms to understand that how it works, and eventually I started enjoying competitive programming, and I made my profile on these, and now I have a lot of solved questions on these websites also. One thing that worked for me and that I would also like to share as an advice is work in groups. So basically, when you are doing competitive programming, or when you are just when the wheel is just rolling, it's very hard to make the wheel rolling. So it's very hard to keep it going. So I would like to advise that work in groups. Practice competitive programming in groups. Make a group of like 5 6 people who are enthusiastic for solving problems and do competitive programming with them. While working alone, it's sometimes hard to continue. You might procrastinate on it and delay it every time and say that, okay, let's do it later or in the weekend or after the semester exams or so. So I'd say that practice is the key. Your consistency and hard work will determine how far can you go. If we have this misconception that only people who are from very good colleges like tier 1 tier 2 college, or only people who know DSA before college, or they have some coding background before college can work in certain MNCs or good startups as well. So I'd say that you are wrong. I have a lot of colleagues, like I know a lot of people working in Google who are also in my team, who are not from a very good college, who are not from a tier 1 tier 2 college, but still they landed there because of their sheer hard work. So yeah, if like I think if you practice properly, then anyone can make it. So yeah, practice in groups and compete within yourself, and practice in coding contests to get an idea that where you stand as compared to rest of the people in your college, apart like in the country and stuff. So in the coding contest, we have rankings basis on the we have rankings on country based and the world rankings also, so you can get an idea that how are you performing. One very common question that people ask me is that is doing competitive programming must for getting a job in a good product based company? So the answer here is no. No matter on campus or off campus, for getting a job in your placements, all you need to do is prepare for the interviews really well. It doesn't matter if you have a competitive programming background or not. If you prepare for the interviews well, then you can get the job, because in the end what matters is the performance in the interview. So I'll say that competitive programming and preparation for interviews are a very different ball game. In competitive programming, you solve questions on some code editor, which gives you features like autocomplete, auto suggest, syntax checking. While during interviews, you are generally given a whiteboard or a sheet of paper to solve the problems. And it's hard to perform well in interviews without practicing it before. So this is one point which is the difference between competitive programming and preparation for interviews. Another thing is that competitive programming focuses on solving the question fast, and you generally don't give enough importance or attention on the coding style, which means that you declare the variable names uh, like lazily, and basically you don't care much about the code readability. You don't break the big function into small readable function and stuff. But in an actual interview, these things will also matter a lot. You need to make the code more readable, more presentable, and you have to practice them in advance to perform well in the interview. Because if you are planning that, if you're thinking that you will do it directly in the interview, then probably you will face some issues. And so this was the second difference. The third difference is that in competitive programming, the main focus is on solving the questions fast, and it doesn't include explaining your solution to the interviewer. So basically the focus is to solve the question but not explain it. But in interviews, the focus is to solve and explain to the interviewer as well. It doesn't matter that if you have developed a very time optimal solution, but if you are not able to convince the interviewer that the solution is correct, if you are not able to tell the interviewer that whatever you have done actually makes sense, and if you are not able to communicate it properly, then probably it won't be of any use. For the interviewer to judge you, it's very important that you are able to if you are able to communicate the thoughts. So this is also one major difference between competitive programming and interview preparation. So overall, the thing is that competitive programming is something which is required to build a solid backbone for DSA, so that you can get a better practical usage of DSA, which is data structure algorithm. Also, if you become really good at it, you can also write this in your resume, and you can add the links to your competitive programming profiles into your resume to basically stand out from the other participants. So this is where competitive programming again makes a big difference. If you think from an HR point of view, if you are an HR for a big MNC and you receive like 100 applications for the same profile, then to basically filter that profile, you need some evidences that okay, investing time in this person or maybe considering this person is something which will not waste your time, or which is worthy enough for your time and the interview's time. So uh, for at for people who are at college level, I think there are certain things that the recruiters see, which are the projects that the person has done, what's the college, like what's the CGPA might be one thing, and also they see that how is it. So let's say if you are applying for a software engineering profile, so they'll see that what's your background for software engineering. If you have a good DSA background, if you are active on coding websites, if you have won some coding contests or challenges, if you have taken part in some contests which are widely known. For example, you can take part in GSOC, you can take part in GSOC is by the way Google Summer of Code. You can take part in Kickstart, or you can take part in Hashcode, which are other Google events. So basically, these are well-known events, and people will know that okay, you have a good profile here, so yeah, you might be worth giving it a try. So overall, I'll say that competitive programming is to focus, is to is to give a solid backbone, solid strength to your DSA skills. And if at all you are having in mind that you just have to prepare for the interviews, then you can directly go for it. But obviously, CP will be beneficial for the resume as well. Okay, moving next, that how to prepare for technical interviews. So this is the point at the like if you'll search over the internet, you'll find a whole lot of websites where you can go and you can prepare for your software engineering interviews. And I'll tell you about the websites that I have personally used for preparation and for the interviews in college. So in college, majorly I prepared from Geeks for Geeks. I was doing preparation in college for around like 6 years back. So yeah, 6 years back I prepared from Geeks for Geeks, and this was a really good website. I think this is a really good website. It contains a very good set of questions. It has a different section for each topic, like separate section for arrays, trees, graph, linked lists, etc. So you can start. It's good to go. You can just go and start with the with a pick. You can go and start and pick any section that you want, and you can probably pick the easy ones first if you are preparing for the first time, and then you can gradually move towards the difficult ones. Also, Geeks or Geeks was the site that I chose, but now you have quite a lot of options. I think a few other options are one good option is obviously Newton School. You can join Newton School and prepare for your technical interviews and get placed in really good companies. They have courses in which they teach DSA. They have workshops also in which they teach DSA from scratch, and you can become an expert by preparing from that course. Though there are various other sites also present, the website that I used for preparing, apart from Geeks or Geeks, the website that I use recent for that I used to prepare for my recent interview is LeetCode. So I think this has quite a lot of questions with the tag for each company. So if you want to prepare for specific companies, you can do a company specific preparation there. And for example, if you want to prepare for Google or Amazon, so you can go to LeetCode and you can search for the company tag Amazon or Google, and then you can get all the questions which are asked there. So this way you can probably shortlist the question, and you can also do it also has the questions marked as easy, medium, or hard. So you can go and select a category and you can start practicing as per your preparation status. So let's say if you are just starting, you can go there and you can select the category as easy, and you can get a few questions, like maybe 50 questions for easy, and then you can choose that how in which topic you want to start with. Let's say you wanted to start with the questions of arrays, or and after that you want to go for questions of trees, so you can do that. We can choose the subcategory within this category and you can go ahead. Yeah, so I think by all this means, by preparing from all these websites, you can clear the interviews of those big companies. And if you prepare well, we can just clear any of the interviews. So with this, I think this is all from the pre-prepared talk side. Given the interest of time, I'd like to open the forum for some questions from the team. So yeah, over to you, Gopi.
Thanks, Priyank. Priyank, while you were applying at Google and while you were going through your Google interview process, you mentioned about lunch interviews and Googliness. Could you throw some light on that as well?
Sure. So yeah, one good thing that I really found, which I really found the most interesting thing in Google interviews is lunch interviews. So in Google, they have a concept called lunch interviews. So generally Google process, the interview process lasts for around full day. They have like 2 or 3 interviews per day as a minimum. In my case, I had all 5 interviews on a single day. So in lunch interview, what happens that between the interviews, they offer you lunch in the Google office, and just to make sure that you are not alone and you do not overthink about the interviews and stuff, they just assign a fellow Googler so that you can just go with them and have lunch, and then you can talk about things that you really want to discuss about the Google office, the work culture, if you want to discuss anything regarding the teams that you want to, if you are interested in any. So that lunch interview is not an official interview. That is not something for which the rating will be counted, or the decision will be taken on the basis of that. It's just a friendly discussion that you can have with a Googler, just to relax your mind and probably understand more about the Google culture and stuff. So yeah, in my lunch interview, I remember that the thing that I was most excited about when I was giving the interviews was Google food. I've heard a lot about the food at Google even before going there, because I was having a few of my friends working there, and had I had like the lunch or dinner there sometimes. So yeah, that was the most interesting part. And giving a lunch interviewer with us, I think that is something that like we can converse about things, we can talk about anything about food, or maybe the culture, maybe any interesting projects they might be working, or anything that you have in mind. So when you're giving interviews, you have a lot of questions in mind, so that is a place where you can just go and relax and uh, just enjoy the time.
That's
uh,
great, Priyank. We've seen a lot of students asking us a question: how do you take care of the stress that you have while you are giving an interview? Everyone has that fear of rejection. How did you manage that while interviewing for Google?
Sure. So I think the answer for this question is that for managing stress, all you can do is give your best, and then you can probably leave it to the interviewer. Like, you cannot control the feedback that the person will give, but yeah, definitely you can control that what are the inputs that you give in that interview. So for me, I think what I did is that prepare for the interviews well, and whenever I was in an interview, I probably the way that I want the interview to happen is that, like, initially whenever the person is giving a problem, just clarify the problem and try to ask as many clarifications as they can, because in every like it's very important to hear that what the interviewer is saying, and sometimes the hint is there in the question itself, but just that we have to reiterate the question a few times. So that is one thing. After getting the question, instead of thinking directly about the optimal solution, what I thought that if I'm getting stuck, or if I'm not getting the optimal solution in one go, I'll start with the brute force solution so that I can at least keep the wheel moving. So in this way, the interviewer thinks that you are not really stuck and you do not need a help. Uh, if at all you get stuck, then interviewer will think that you are not able to progress. But if you will tell the brute force solution first, and then eventually you will brainstorm towards the optimized solution, that's a really good thing, it gives a really good signal. So for me, the stress relieving thing is that I try to give the interviews in this way, so that eventually after the interview, I myself have a kind of I have a sense like how the interview went, and that's what is important. I think you always know after an interview that how it went, and once you are satisfied with that feeling, I think we can probably work on that, removing the stress by then.
Right, Priyank, that makes complete sense. A lot of students also want to know how to approach the whole Google process, the whole process of applying at Google from their campus. A lot of young students also want to apply at Google. How is that process like?
So are you talking about the on-campus interviews?
Yeah,
So yeah, for on-campus interviews, I think the way that it is done currently is that Google has they have shortlisted a few campuses already, which are there in their list, and every year for internships or for college placements, they go to those campuses and they hire students from there. For hiring those students, they take some Googlers as the interviewers, and they have. I remember that at my time there used to be something called Google Code Jam, which was the contest on the basis of which they have a ranking and they choose people whom to interview. But right now, I think they have something called Google Kickstart, which is a contest for the college students only. And I think this is one criteria that they have. Apart from that, they might have some internal, some college specific tests. Uh, I mean, they have some tests on pre-place, like for placement, before the placement, they have some shortlisting tests and stuff. So that is also one criteria. Uh, so yeah, basically the answer is that they have a fixed shortlisted campuses. So if your campus is there in that list, so probably they'll go and hire from there.
right. Priyank, one of our viewers here also wants to know. His name is Kuruva Shrikant. They also want to know how is the off-campus Google interview process is like.
Yeah, thanks Kruva for the question. So I think that the process depends on what for which profile are they hiring for and what level. For software engineers, I can say that if the process is for someone who is just a college graduate or college hire, then the process will be somewhat different as compared to someone who is having like 5 years or 10 years of experience. Uh, the number of rounds. So I'll tell more about the round that I had because I also applied off campus. So in my case, I had one telephonic round, which was that. So that was a round in which a Googler was assigned, and there was a discussion. So this was not on-campus round; it was more like a online discussion, telephonic discussion, and there was one Google Doc shared between me and the person who is taking interview. That so my interviewer was from Zurich. So in the starting, like I was having a bit of difficulty in understanding the accent of the person, but eventually like in 5-10 minutes I was able to get that what exactly they are saying. Once that is done, so yeah, I was asked a technical question, a coding question. That question was having like first they asked the first part, and eventually when I solved the simple one, they asked the second part of the same question. So that was the pattern of the interview. Once I was sure that I understood the question, I kind of discussed the solution with the interviewer, and once we both agree we are on the same page, then I started coding for that in the doc only. So yeah, this was the first round, which was the telephonic round. Uh, so generally people have one or two telephonic rounds. Second one happens in case the first one was not that much convincing, or maybe it was a neutral one and people are not able to decide that what to do, so they have a second one. But in my case, I had one round. After that one telephonic, I had five on-site rounds. And uh, and that five on-site rounds, so I had four coding rounds there as well, and there is one round which is called googliness and leadership. So again, coding round was similar to the one that I had previously, like the telephonic round. Just the difference is that here now I have a physical device. I was having a Chromebook for writing the code instead of the doc. But in Chromebook also, they do not have the features like auto suggest, auto complete, syntax checking and stuff. They just have like a simple place, a doc, basically like something similar in which you can write and talk to the interviewer. So yeah, the coding question pattern was similar. We first have to discuss, and then once we both agree, we have to write. There is one special round called Googliness and Leadership, which is also called the Dnl round. So basically, if you compare it with the other companies, the same thing is called behavioral round. That how exactly you so the discussion in this round is mainly focused on your previous projects, the work that you have done in your previous companies. For example, in my case, when I was giving interviews, I was having like 4 years of experience. So it was more like how I tackled certain problems, or what are the difficulties that I faced in my problem, or how I reacted on different situations, how I improved myself from certain situation and stuff. So it's a very situational based, and it's more like to check whether you are a good culture fit for the company or not. So in Google, if I'll say that, you might be aware that the culture here at Google is one of the best. I think it needs no confirmation there. So yeah, again, to check whether a person is the one who is satisfying the criteria. If the team will be like, if having the person in the team will not impact the productivity of the team itself, that are a few checks that people generally have in the behavioral round. So yeah, if everything satisfies, if they think that overall coding wise and culture wise, behavioral wise, if the person is good, then it's a good for hire. Else, if there is some issue there, then probably, so they have a culture called false positive. Like if there is any, if it sounds bad, then probably don't take it. If it sounds good, then take it. So they try to remove the false positive things, which actually makes sense.
Right, that does make sense. So here, Daksh Prajapati has asked a question. He wants to know if there is any eligibility criteria for the interviews, in the sense that do the students or do the applicants need to know specific languages or even core subjects while they are applying for the interviews.
Sure. So thanks, Daksh, for the question. I'll assume that this thing is asked for software engineering profile. So I'll say that they do not expect you to have to know any specific language, as long as you are able to write code in some language, and that language is something which is understandable by the interviewer. So I'll suggest that not to choose some language which is very rare to find. Like, I know that some like languages like Haskell something. So there are some languages which are not very famous, but they exist. But if obviously you can choose to code in them, but it's very difficult to find interviewers who know that language. So just try to have some language which is universally used like very frequently, and there is no specific choice of language. There is no specific need to know any subjects. Like uh, if at all you have written things in your resume which are interesting, like you have developed a new network protocol, let's say, so maybe they can ask something about the network layer, or maybe networking. But if you have like a normal things, they probably focus more on code on data space algorithm, because that's the thing that they need to present in the feedback of the interview. So if they invest more time in asking things which are not that important, that will probably go against you, because that will invest time and that won't be counted. So the pattern here is majorly ask coding DSA, and in case it is very like something is very interesting, ask other things also.
Right. So there's another question in the audience. People want to know that a lot of that when they are preparing for these interviews, how much time in a day should they invest in their preparations, considering they have say 2 years on hand.
So I think so. This question looks like from someone who is in starting of the third year, maybe, right? Yeah. So given that you are here, I think probably you might be asking this for the campus interviews. So if you have 2 years in hand, then I'll suggest that you can start with the, again, as I said, first thing is that you have to learn a language, pick a language. If you know some language well, learn the basics of DSA. Once you learn that, I think given that you have 2 years of time in hand, you can start with competitive programming, because if you will start with interview preparation, then I mean, given that you have time, you can strengthen your DSA skills before entering into the preparation, so that when you prepare for the interviews, you exactly know the optimized solution. All you need to do is that to practice explaining it to people, to practice it doing with proper variable names, doing it properly with optimized with the short small functions, like not big functions, breaking the chunks, and proper commenting and stuff. So if you can strengthen your DSA skills over these 2 years, that would be great at this time. Start with computer programming. You can start with any of the websites. But yeah, after that, after having like 1 year in computer programming, you'll have a good enough knowledge that how why are you choosing this data structure over that, how exactly things work, and then you can start interview preparation so that you have to think less, uh, probably when you're designing the solutions.
Right, that makes sense. I think we'd be still open to taking questions from the audience. But in the meantime, Priyank, if you could tell us what is this one advice that you would give to all young software developers out there who are looking for their dream jobs?
So one advice would be that, I mean, this is not like, this is something that I might have already covered, that all you want to do is to get the dream job. All you have to do is prepare well in the interviews. So if you are, let's say if you are working in a company and you are not getting that much of time that you can invest your time in competitive programming, if you are not getting a lot of free time, if you are getting like 1 or 2, maybe 3 hours every day, then I'll suggest you can prepare for interviews directly. And for preparing, I'll say that just follow the things that prepare on, like practice on pen and paper, so that you do not have a habit of using the code editor every time, because a lot of companies that we will be interviewing at generally gives you pen and paper or a whiteboard or a doc, etc., which do not have those features. So yeah, just practice well. I think one advice, if you want, is the, like, practice is the key. If you will do practice the way, I mean, just don't do it blindly. And I mean, it should be something which is very specific to your case. If you know that you have certain skills, if you know that you, let's say, for example, you know that you know very well that how trees or how heaps work. So this is your strength, and you should be aware of your strengths. So you should give less time on this. And probably whenever you are seeing any question for trees, don't, after one point, don't just write everything. Just think about the solution and move ahead, because that will save time. Uh, yeah, so like these are some ways that you have to do for making a personalized preparation strategy. And again, if you are looking for a personalized preparation strategy, I have made a video on this on my YouTube channel. So probably I'll just comment the link somewhere down, and you can just have a look there. So that contains something like in more detail. That's a long video, I think 20-25 minutes video. So in that you can also get some ideas.
Right. Priyank, in one of your videos, you've also mentioned preparing on pen and paper or even whiteboards.
Yes.
Why did you do that and how did it help you? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, again, so again, for whenever you are giving interviews, right? So it's not necessary that they'll provide you some code editors or something that contains features that you use generally in your day-to-day work or your practice coding. So it's always good to choose pen and paper, choose the hard way, so that you get accustomed of it and you do not suddenly realize that, okay, you don't have those features, now what to do. So one advantage that you will have by using pen and paper is that when you write something with your hand, right, your brain automatically gets that, like, you have more concentration on it. And when you write every single word, you think a lot that why am I writing this word, and do I really need to write and stuff. So that way also, like, it's a human nature that if you'll write something with your hand, that will be more impactful and you'll think more about it instead of writing it on a pen and paper, instead of writing it on code editor, because there you can just do backspace and you can remove it. But when you will write it on paper, then you'll cut those things, then you'll realize that, okay, I'm making a lot of mistakes and I probably need to improve on this.
All right, that makes complete sense. I think we have one more question here. People want to know, how did you work on your soft skills, or how should students work on their soft skills while applying to jobs and while giving their interviews?
Oh, I think soft skills for me personally, I haven't, I think, like, what do you say, work as it is. Like, it's more like when you talk to people, when you prepare for the interviews, like when you generally, I mean, it's not something that I personally practice a lot. It's something that I basically developed over the time while talking to people, or like the normal thing. But yeah, if at all you feel that you are lacking this thing, I think there's something which is not something which people have about. People acquire it by daily talks and like day-to-day conversation talks. So right now, I do not have any recommendation for the course that you might have do, but yeah, if you search over the internet, I'm sure that you will have a lot of courses, a lot of stuff available, which is there already. So yeah, this is something that you can actually learn if you are not really sure that whether you have the correct communication skills or not. Because sometimes I've seen, like, I've taken a lot of interviews in Google as well, and I've seen that the person knows the answer, but they do not know that how to tell their code to you. So it's more like a communication gap, and you basically can sense that the person is talking about the right data structure, but maybe they are not able to converse it well, or they are not able to tell you that what exactly they are thinking. They just lose time and they kind of panic, and they themselves think that why is it happening with me? I'm telling correct, but why is this person not getting it? So this is something definitely one of the most important things as well, to tell people that how are you solving it, how are you.
That was great, Priyank. Thanks for joining us today. I think the community has learned immensely from you today. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Gopi, for having me, and all the best everyone for your preparation, and all the best again. Thank you. Cool. So, Gopi, shall I just leave the screen, or is it still live? Oh, cool. Thanks. Bye.
Awesome. That was Priyank, and that was a very interesting talk from Priyank. Now we're going to be inviting Mr. Prateek Golsha, who's been working with Microsoft. Mr. Prateek has immense knowledge in the industry and has been working for 10 years in the same industry. He has joined us today to talk about how to make the right resume for you to stand out in your process of getting the job that you've always wanted. So I now invite Mr. Pratik. In the meantime, I would suggest the audience to keep asking questions while we are on the live. We'll be answering the questions in the comment section if your question is not answered by the speaker. We're going live with Mr. Pratik in a little while. In the meantime, everyone can keep asking questions that they are going to be uh, wondering about. For those of you who have just joined, I'd like to bring to your notice that at Career Launchpad, we'll be talking to various dignitaries from Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Flipkart, MySurgery, and others. We'll gain a lot of knowledge about how to kickstart your tech career. While we are in this conclave, I would suggest you guys to look at the links in the description and learn more about Newton School Career Launchpad. We'll be inviting Mr. Pratik in a short while now. Like I said, you can continue asking questions in your live section. At Newton School, we strive towards bringing students closer to their dream career, and we help them create this opportunity for themselves by uh, training them into becoming the best full stack developers in the industry. We at the same point of time ensure that a lot of people learn their soft skills and go through mock interviews while they are in the process of learning full stack development. We have had students who have reached their goals of achieving great jobs and great packages over the last 1 year, and we have provided the link for the same. We would like to invite you to look at these links that are provided in the description below. We'd be over the next day, we'd be talking to Mr. Pratik Golcha from Microsoft, Mr. Tinku Monish from Facebook, Ms. Soumya Agarwal from Flipkart, and of course the very famous Saurabh Shugla from mysurgery.com. While we'll be doing this, we'll also invite everyone to join our coding contest, where you'll get the chance to win exciting cash prizes and also get certificates for participation. In this process of career launchpad, we also have a workshop with Mr. Siddharth Maheshwari, who's the co-founder of Newton School, and he'll be teaching you Python programming. We are waiting to take Mr. Pratik Golsha uh, in just a little while, but I could give you a little more information about Mr. Pratik. He is highly experienced in this industry, and he has the deep experience of 10 years here. He has worked with different brands like Microsoft, Samsung, Infosys, and has been talking to a lot of people through his blogs. We'll be talking to him in a short time, and I would request all of you to keep asking questions in the comment section below. At the same point of time, I would also like to invite all of you to take a look at the links that are provided in the description below and understand more about Newton School and Newton School Launchpad. I shall be inviting Mr. Pratik now. Hello, Pratik. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Pratik?
I'm also good. Thanks for asking.
Yes.
Have I
Sorry?
my video is proper?
Yes.
Is it? Yeah.
How is the Independence Day celebration going, Pratik?
During lockdown and it's raining in Hyderabad, we are not able to even to go for the flag hosting.
Right.
Like
Rain and COVID.
yeah, both both are spoiling.
Yes. I shall be giving the podium to you, Pratik. You can take over now.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So I'll share my screen. Let me know once able to see my screen. Yes. Okay. So let's start with a brief introduction. I think you have already given introduction about me. Just a minute. So I have a total industry experience of around 10 years. People who want to connect me on LinkedIn, you can search with the name Pratik Golcha. They will be able to find it. My blog is devcompose.com, where I write blogs mainly on Azure, the cloud, and some of the technical stuffs other. And you can also connect me on Twitter @Pratik Golcha. I'll start with the session with a quotation. So resume is the best advertisement that you can do for yourself. So basically, whenever we apply for a job in a company, we upload our resume, and that resume actually help us to connect with the hiring manager. Neither the company, neither the hiring manager knows you, but that resume actually helps you to connect with the organization and the hiring manager. The hiring manager scans through your resume, sees and matches with the job description that he has. And if your skills and the job description matches, he actually shortlists you. So your resume actually helps the hiring manager to make the decision whether he should proceed with you or not. So resume is just not a document which gives the details of the candidate, but it's an advertisement done by the candidate. Advertisement, like the candidate tells the recruiter that these are the skill sets that I have and I am the best fit for the organization. Resume is also kind of a pass for the candidate to get their dream job. You can relate a resume to an advertisement that you see on a TV or on any of the online platform. If advertisement is of your interest, it will click you up and you will get interested in the product. Same thing happens with the resume. As the people see your resume, they get interested with the skill sets, with the experience that you brings in, and you will be like adding value to the organization. So they get interested in you, and they want to proceed further with you. So resume is a kind of advertisement that you do for yourself. Now let's start. I'll give what all I'm going to talk about in this session. So basically, I'll tell about why we need a resume. What are the good traits of a good resume? Details that need to be added in a resume. What all information we should avoid putting up in a resume. And how a sample resume should look like. And at last, we can have the Q&A session. So let's start with why we need a resume. I'll start with a statement. It's a marketing tool. Resume help us to get selected for an interview. Nowadays, hiring managers are getting hundreds of resumes for a job. You'll see a lot of JDs, and then you go to your to the company site. You'll upload your resume, and you'll find similar. Lot of candidates are doing the same thing. So the hiring managers are getting hundreds of resumes for a particular job itself. It's very hard for them to go and screen each and every resume in detail. They hardly give seconds or minutes to scan through the details of the resume and then make up their decision whether this candidate should be proceed further for further rounds or not. Once you are selected for further rounds, then it is your technical skills which actually helps you to crack the interview and get selected for the company. But resume actually is again I'll say it's a pass which actually helps you to get selected for at least for the interviews or any of the coding rounds that the company is going to take it up. So resume is just not about you. It's an information that you're putting up to the organizations that these are the skill sets that I have it, and I will bring all this to the organizations. These are the values that I'm going to add to the organizations. These are my potentials, and I'll add much more value to the organizations. Now I'll discuss about what are the traits of a good resume. So basically, whenever we write a resume, we should always put all the necessary informations that is required. And we should highlight the necessary informations also. For example, I'll give up. Suppose you have got an opening in a company and you want to apply for it. You see that this opening is for AI and ML. You should modify your resume so that the resume should highlight that you have the required skill sets for this particular job description. Now, don't add too much details in your resume. Keep it simple, clear, and crisp. When I say that, I'll put focus on few points. Suppose you have worked on a project. Don't give all the details of the project, like what all you have implemented, how you have implemented. If the company or the organization is interested into it, they will ask the details in the interview round itself. If you want to give a glimpse of it, what you can do here is that you can write a one-liner about the project, what that project does, what all technologies you have worked on while working on that project, and if you can put a working link of the project, if it is open to all, or if you have uploaded it to some of the Git source, you can put the GitHub link also, so that if the recruiter is interested in your profile, they can go and see what is the what is the implementation that you have done, what is the features that you have implemented, so they can get detail about how much skills you are having for a particular technology. Always highlight your educations, training, certifications, internship, research paper, any kind of patent that you have applied. Always highlight those informations. When you highlight those informations, if you have got any achievement at any level, it will tell the hard work that you have done to achieve that. So always highlight those things. Even highlight your skill sets. Like Suppose you're good in HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, you're learning Angular. So you can tell your proficiency level that I'm expert level in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but I'm intermediate at Angular or React. So that tells actually that like this person has got a lot of depth also and breadth also about technology, so that he's exploring new technologies and has some professional level in specific technology also. Keep it real and have a proofread of your resume. Having a proofread for your resume is very important. I'll tell you why. Sometimes when you are writing, we could we can make mistakes with our spellings, grammars. So always go for a spell check for it. Like most of our tools have a spell checks inbuilt on it. You can use those tools and correct your spellings and everything. Now, once your resume is ready, ask your friends, mentors, teachers to review your resume, because they will actually help you to find the mistakes in your resumes, or like what all modifications you can do in your resume so that your resume stands out. Like see, like for a job, a lot of people will be applying for a particular job. What extra thing that you should be adding into your resume so that you stands out from your peers? Sometimes we miss out those things. So a reviewer can actually help you to put those points. And one thing more I'll put from my experience, I'll tell you an instance that actually happened with me. It was during my college days. I was going through my campus placement, and during my college days, I was part of an editorial board in my college. So my professor was writing a book for it, and I was doing the proofreading for that. I used to find doing the I was also writing the solutions for the problems in the book. So like with that book, a solution book was also coming up. So once I did that, my name was published in that book also, that I was part of this editorial board. And during the interview, one of the interviewers asked me, "Can you show me a proof for that?" And during that time, like it was 11, 12 years back when I was doing that, around 11 years back, yeah. So that time we were not having this, that we can have an e-copy of it or something like that, so that I can show a proof to the interviewer. We used to have a hard copy of everything. And that time I forgot to carry the Xerox copy of that page itself from the book. So basically, I was not able to prove that I have really worked on it. So sometimes, like having proofs for everything that we write helps that this person can be trusted. Again, give an example. Suppose you have written some of the skill sets in your resume. Your friends or your mentors can easily counter on that. That, see, you have done on this particular skill 1 year back. How good you are with this right now? And does it require, like, does this job description require these skill sets? Because suppose you have added AI/ML or some other skills in your resume, but you're not very comfortable with it because you have worked on it around a year back. But now the interviewer sees that this person knows AI/ML, and they can ask question on that. And that time you will be not very comfortable with those questions, and you'll not be able to like answer properly. You'll say that, "Sir, I have done it, but around a year back, I'm not very comfortable with this question right now." That actually creates a very bad impression that time. So whenever you send a resume to any of the recruiter, just go through the whole resume again and see whatever was required in the job description. Do you have those skills? Like, it's not like you should have 100%, but you should have those skills, because it actually helps you to get selected for further rounds. And don't put any information that you can't prove for yourself. So this will actually help you to build your trust with the interviewer also. Now I'll come to like what all details should be included whenever we create a resume. See, the basic things of a resume is that you should add your name and the contact details. Basically, I'll prefer that we should add it on the top itself. I'll tell you why we should add it on the top. Suppose for a job, a hiring manager has got around 1,000 of resumes. He selects 50 candidates for it. Now he wants to enter those details into the system, that these are candidates we are selected for the further rounds, and we need to contact them. Now, if the contact details are not clearly visible on the resume, if it is somewhere in the middle or somewhere at the bottom, he has to scan through it. He need to fish that information where that actual information is. But if the information is at the top itself, they will be able to figure out very easily. They open the resume and at the top, they will be able to find that information, which is quite handy for them. Second thing is that whatever information that we add on the resume, like your phone number or the email ID, use professional email IDs. Don't put something like pratik_geek@abc.com. Avoid those details like email IDs. Try to create a professional email ID so that like avoid all these fancy email IDs whenever you are putting into your resume. Try to include social media details. Like you should always create your LinkedIn profile. Once you create I think most of the people are having LinkedIn profile now, but if you're not having, try to create a LinkedIn profile, because nowadays a lot of recruiters are contacting candidates on LinkedIn, and you can update each and every details that you have on your resume also on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn actually works kind of a resume for you. You can also put your code details, like whatever coding practice that you're doing, you're solving problems each and every day. Why to keep it on your machine itself? I think it's better to put it on the GitHub or any other source repository, so that anytime recruiter want to see how much coding this person has done up, they can go and see in the GitHub directly itself and get the gist, like how much problem this person is solving each and every day, how much is devoted for the job, like how to upskill his technological skills. So that gives a very good view to the recruiter also. If you're in habit of doing blogging, continue doing that. Try to update your blogs, whatever you're learning up, share it with everyone, and put the details also in your resume. You can also add some of the details, like suppose if you're doing coding on different platforms, like there are a lot of platforms that are available like HackerRank, Interview, Geek of Geeks. If you're doing those stuffs, try to add those informations. If you're having good knowledge, like good contribution to those websites, add those details on your resume. Mention your career objective as summary. Basically, I'll like if you're just passing out from, I'll say put a summary of your summary for your profile, that you're a third year or fourth year student, you know this is skills on your resume, so that the recruiter gets a just like what all skills this person particularly is having. They need not, like if they are going through the resume, if you highlighted them properly, they will be able to know that this person knows this particular skills and is a best fit for the company. Now, whenever you're putting up any skill details, include all the certifications that you have done for it. Like suppose you have learned HTML, JavaScript, CSS. If any certification is available for you, try to do that and include it in your resume also. You can also give your proficiency level in the skill sets. I'll come in on detail on this when I'll show you a sample resume, that how can you give a snapshot of the skill sets and with the proficiency details of each skill set, which actually helps the recruiter or the hiring manager to know the details of the skills that you have it. And also add all the academic details like your 10th, 12th, graduations, like what is the CGPA, if you have got any honors in your schools, if you have a class topper, college topper, anything that you have got it. If you have any Olympiad also, add those details in the resume. So once these details are added in your resume, I think it will give you a, I'll say brownie, like a plus point with the other candidates who are also putting the who are also applying those details, because these details will help if they're highlighted in a particular way and details are ordered properly. Recruiter or the hiring manager will get a good view of the skill sets, academic details, and will be interested in your profile. And once he is interested in your profile, he will try to get forward with further steps. Now, talk about what all we should avoid whenever we create a resume. So basically try to not put any wrong information. Don't try to lie whenever you are creating your resume. So basically, sometimes what happens, if you have seen the job description, or like you know that this particular company is hiring uh, with a particular skill, and your friends are applying for it. You don't know much about that technology. You think that I'll learn about it, and you put that skill set in your resume. Again, the same thing happen, that when the interviewer asks some questions on that topic and you don't have any deep knowledge on that, it will not be a good experience either for the interviewer, even for you also. You will, even it will demotivate you. So don't put any wrong information. Also try to avoid put any random informations like your interests and hobbies. See, like people are interested in photography, cooking, like traveling. Those are your personal interests. Those are your personal hobbies. But this will never add any, I'll say, it will not add any brownie point to the job. Actually, you'll not do anything that it will not uh, interest the hiring manager that this person is good in photography, I should hire him. It will not make any sense for them. So don't put those interests and hobbies. But however, I'll say, if your hobby is related to technique, like you're a good you're learning a lot of technical stuffs, you want to, like you're doing a lot of dynamic programming, you're doing machine learning, you are learning new technologies. If you are, if those are your interest area, do mention in your resume. Don't put any meaningless or self assessments. Like when I say meaningless self assessment, means that people try to write that I am a good team player, I am very hardworking. See, nobody has proof for that. These are your self-acclaim that I am very hardworking, I am very, I'm a good team player. Even during the interviews, people might able to judge you. So if the interviewer is able to judge you, they will be able to. And most of this assessment will happen when you join the organization. If you do a self-assessment of yourself, it doesn't create a good impression out there. So try to avoid using this sentences in your resume. Another thing that I've seen in multiple resumes, that people uses multiple fonts. Like they will use 2 or 3 fonts with different, like to make resume more beautiful, but it doesn't gives a good impression actually. Stick to some of the professional fonts like Times New Roman, Arial, Calibri. Stick to those fonts. And in a resume, stick to single font. If you want to highlight something, make the use of bold or italic. This will give a good view of the resume. Don't try to make your resume more colorful. We are not fashion designers, interior designers. Like, just try to give a more, I'll say, use professional colors. We can use colors, but try to use color. Like I've seen people using pink and yellow also. But I think that doesn't make a resume professional. Like for us, for technical people like us, either use white, gray. If you want to use 2 color, you can go with white, gray, or something white and blue, something like that, which will give a good appeal to your resume. And the last thing, which is I think the most important thing, don't put a lot of personal informations. I've seen people adding their marital status, their parent details, their addresses, and everything. Even I've seen people adding their passport details, even their PAN card. See, all these details, if needed by the company or the organization or the hiring manager, once you've gone through your technical interviews, if the details are needed, then they will contact you and get those details. And your resume should be, I'll say, like for people who are just passing out from the college or just fresher, and the best ideal resume will be a single page resume. So try to stick to that. If you add those informations, your resume size will become big. So as I said, try to make it simple, clear, and crisp. So add those informations only which are required for the job. Now I'll move to a sample resume. I think the text will not be visible much, but I'll try to go through that. Basically, we'll go through the sections, and in the sections you can add your text as per your need. So this is one of the sample resume. Um, you can take any online resume. There are a lot of online resume builder available in the market, and a lot of online formats also available. So you can choose anyone as per your choice. This is one of the format that I have created up. And you can use this or you can create your own, and you can uh, put in any order, like you can put as per your choice, you can do the ordering also. But at the top I'll say like put your name, then your phone number on your left hand side or right hand side, whatever feel best for you, we can do that. Phone number, email, LinkedIn profile, Twitter, blog, like whatever. If you have your own website, you can put that link also. Again, as I said, objective, you can put your summary that I am a third year student, I am a fourth year student with a good skills on HTML, JavaScripts. Okay, I love to like solve problem. I do a lot of dynamic programming. I'm a AI learning. I'm learning AI and ML. Those things you can put in your summary. Then you can put your education details. I'll suggest to put your education details in chronological order. You start with your BTech or BSc, whatever, like you have the graduation details, you can put your graduation details here. Then you can put your 12th and the 10th.
I think we're facing some technical glitch. We'll be getting Pratik on as soon as.
Hello,
Yes,
hello.
yes.
There's a power cut at my place. I've connected from my mobile. I'll try.
You can restart the presentation.
Sure, sure. I'll share my screen again. And just give me a minute. I'll apologies, like I was not prepared for this. There will be a power.
No worries.
Yeah, able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, let me just get some lights also if possible. I'll try to. It's very difficult to wait. Yeah, okay. Is that fine now?
Yes.
Okay. So as I was talking about the sample resume, I'll continue. Like these are the basic information that we should be adding, like our phone number, email, LinkedIn profile details, and any blog, anything, any other profile details that we want to add, we can add it here. Then we'll add the summary part, and the education details should be added in the chronological order. You can add your graduation details, then 12th and the 10th. Then you should be adding your project details, your internship details, or any of the certifications that you have done. You can add these details here, and then you'll have your skills details. You can add your skills. I've added a sample skill, like how can you show the proficiency levels, but you can use your own format if you want to give just a text, like these are like skills which I am having a basic informations. I am having these are skills for which I have the intermediate informations, and these are skills for which I am having the uh, like expert level proficiency. I can add the, like you can categorize your skills like that also. And then at last you can put your achievements, certificates, certifications, any kind of patents that you have applied for it, any of the research paper that you have published. So add all those details in your resume. So if you add those details, I think you are good to have like a good. You will be having a good resume out here. So this is all what I had for this session. I'm open to the questions now.
Yes, we'll be opening for questions now. So any viewers who have doubts about resumes and building their resume, you can feel free to ask any questions to us here. In the meantime, Pratik, I would like to know, a lot of students, while they're applying for different jobs, are hesitant about their soft skills. How do they manage their soft skills while they are in the process of giving interviews?
So if I understood correctly, like how we should improve our soft skills, like while building our technical skills. Now let me tell you a story. Like it's my personal story. Uh, till the age of 23rd, like I was not able to speak a single line. Like I was having stammering. Like I was like a lot of stage fear. Like I was not able, like till the time I joined Infosys, I was not able to speak a single line. But what I found that if I have to survive in this industry, I have to get out of this fear. Really, my seniors, my mentors really helped me out there. They actually gave me different forums where I got a chance to speak, given details like about. They actually put me in code reviews, even product demos, and then it slowly started. Like I started building up my soft skills. It's a continuous process, I'll say. And I've seen like people or the kind of like the students give importance to the technical skills, but they don't give importance to the soft skills. But see how much good you're technical. If you're not able to convey that information to the interviewer or anyone out there, they will not be able to judge you properly. So always, like if you're doing 3 hours of coding, give yourself good 30 minutes for the soft skills development also. See, try, like if you're solving a problem, you have solved it properly. You have done that thing. But now practice that how I will explain this problem to someone else. Discuss with your friends that today I've solved this problem. Let me explain you. Are you able to get everything out of this problem or not? This will really help you out. Even I've seen, like when I ask some like the candidates or like during interviews that can you please introduce yourself? People are not actually, they haven't prepared for it. Hardly they will speak 1 or 2 lines and then they will say, okay, this is it. Like they actually never talk about what all technical expertise that they have built up all these years. What all actually the things they are learning these days. They never talk about it. See, unless you talk about yourself, because as I said, you are there to sell yourself. So you should market yourself. And for that, you need a practice. Like you should practice about yourself. Like this is, if this question comes, I have to say like this. Suppose you have built 10 lines about it, you will have like, even I have like the stage fear, everything, like even sometimes my hand shakes. Those things will be there always. That things will be there. But if you have practiced 10 lines, at least you will be able to say 5 lines. That I'm for sure. So practice about it. It's all about like how much you practice, how much better you will become.
That makes complete sense, Pratik. A viewer here, Mr. Ajay Kumar, has asked a question. They want to know how many pages should a resume be? 1 page or 2 page? How many pages?
I'll stick to 1 page. I think 1 page is sufficient to give all the required informations. Like see what people do actually, as I told, like in the project section or something, they put a lot of text, what this project does and those things. You can simply avoid it. See, if the interviewer is interested in your project, they will ask it during the interview time. Even before that also, if they're interested, you can put a link for the project. If your project is a live working project, you can put a link for that. If you're just as a demo project that you've created, you can upload it to GitHub. On that GitHub, you can create a README file. And in that, you can put all your details. So if someone is interested in you, they will try to find details about you. So create that, I'll say like, how can you create an aura for yourself? You can do that. And I think resume will do that. Like if you create a resume properly, it will do it for you.
Right. That makes complete sense. Pratik, we also want to know what are some of the best resources that you can use to prepare a good resume?
See, resume, there are a lot of online templates that are available. You can go through that. Again, there are different tools also. Even I'll say like Microsoft Word provides a lot of templates for a resume. You can use the template itself. And that, like as per your, like you see which template suits you best, in which you will be able to put all your details. Okay, and you can also discuss with your mentors and friends also. See, sometimes you find actually resume is good, like one of your friend resume is good, like the format is good, but if you just copy that format, your resume will become identical. It will very difficult to distinguish, because at the fresher level the skill sets are almost same, like we know this basic things. So always try to create a unique template for your resume so that you stand out of from others.
Right. Apart from this, I would also like to tell our viewers that on the Newton School platform, you can make a resume which is very easy for to use for everyone. Pratik, apart from this, I have a question. We would like to understand, how do you prioritize your skills while you are making your resume? So you very clearly mentioned that it is not advisable to mention personal details on your resume. But how do you prioritize your professional skills on your resume, and how do you show most of them?
Okay, so for this, I'll go with the job description. Suppose I want to apply for a company, and that company is looking for a backend developer. If I have those skills, if I'm going to apply, because if I'm going to apply, that means that I have those skills for that. I think that I am best suitable for that job. So I'll highlight my backend skills much more there in that reason. So basically, what my suggestion will be for the candidates, that for each JD, try to customize your resume as per the job description. Customize it as per your skill level. Suppose if I just like for a backend, if I put a lot of front end technologies, people will think that who is reviewing my resume will think that he is more of a front end guy. So like today demand is mainly on full stack developer. That's true. So try to get balance of that also. Like as per the job description, modify it. If there's an opening for data scientist, which will be more of data analytics and AI ML thing. So if you have done some projects over it, suppose like for me, like as in I'm in industry for 10 years, more than 10 years now. So I'll have a long list of projects. Pick 2 or 3 main projects that I've done on AI ML. Similarly, for the candidates, like during colleges, they do small projects. So they need to get, these are the projects that are best suitable for this job. So they need to highlight that thing. And as they want to highlight other things also, therefore recommended that put your every code on the GitHub and put that GitHub link, so that if recruiter is interested in you, they want to see what the of this person, he can go and check your GitHub profile also.
Yes, Pratik. You mentioned that you have a vast experience. We've seen that you have an experience of 10 years now. So, how do you prioritize your experience? For even freshers, how do they show their skill set despite of having minimal experience? How do they even promote themselves while having minimal experience?
See, nowadays people are doing a lot of competitive coding, and when we like across the industry, whenever we are hiring freshers, we're not looking for that whether this person will be able to like able to solve every problem, but we see what is the problem solving skill, what is the approach that he is taking up. We don't go into like whether he will be able to develop a complete feature end to end or not, but we look for whether he will be able to solve the problems or not, what is the attitude that he is having, and how much depth he has gone through while whatever subjects that he have explored till now. Like during a college days, a lot of subjects are being taught. How much deep you have gone through that projects, how much extra he has done. Like see, there's a curriculum that is being followed in the college, but there are a lot of things that is happening. Like if there's a society in college, how much you have contributed to that society, how much you learn from that thing. Like now, like I'll tell you from my experience, like 10 years back, there was no AIML. There was nothing like AIML that time. But now when I see the student from the college, they know about it. They have gone through, they have done live projects about those things. So I'll say, like, always have the hat of learner. Always learn new things, explore new things, and if any area interests you, go deep into it. That will actually help you to build your skills. See, at early stages, you have a chance that you can try new things, and as per your interest, you can build your skills on that. So that's how you'll be able to build new skills, and never hesitate to try new things. Unless you try it, unless you fail on it, you'll never be able to succeed anything. So that's how you can. It's a simple funda. Run, fall, run, fall. Like unless you fall, you will not you will not say that whether it's a cup like cup of my tea or not, like that itself. It's totally up, like then you can decide, like you can't make a decision unless you try those things.
That makes complete sense. I think run, fall, and then again run should be the motto tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes complete sense. Pratik, now I really want to know more about how your journey was while you were applying at Microsoft, and how has your experience been?
Okay. See, I joined Microsoft around 5 years back. So it's a normal process. Like I applied for a particular job. I got an interview call. I think the interview went for 2 days. Like they were, I think I was in Delhi that time. I was working with Samsung. So I had multiple rounds of interview. Then and then the final round, it happened around after 2 weeks. I cleared that round also. Uh, Mainly the focus was like on my skills, whatever I know, and how best I'm able to explain those skills, whatever I have learned till now. And I'll say for Microsoft, it's it was a dream come true for me, because from a non-IIT, I'm from a non-IIT. I joined Infosys, and I'm from non-CS also. I'm not a CS from a CS background. So all these are like for a dream come true for me. Like I never thought like that I'll join Microsoft, but it's more of the skill that I continuously build, because I was there daily day-to-day work. I build my skills on that. So I'll say, like, for everyone, whatever you're doing, try to go deep into it. That will actually, see, it's not like your friends might succeed, like they have got a job like in 1 year or during the college pass out, and don't got I'll say demotivate from that. Work on your skills. If you have the right skill sets, you will get your dream job in any day.
That's true. That's completely true. Pratik, I'm curious to know more about how your day looks like at Microsoft. Like, how does a day of a software developer looks like in Microsoft?
So you see, like nowadays I'm missing my office. Like I'm not a work from home person. I really miss my office because I get the chance to meet my colleagues, my friends everywhere out there. But nowadays, like it typically starts around 9:30. I'll quickly see what is my task list that I have to do it up, as we follow the agile methodology, we follow Scrum and those things. So I know like what are the tasks that I have to do it up, and then it becomes I have to help others also. So Microsoft, if I see the motivation, like it runs like how we can empower each and every person on this planet, basically. So it's like helping others, leveraging from others, and whatever I can contribute. So I try to work on that, and my daily day would be something like I just do coding. It's like three things that I do. Basically, I love to solve problems. That's how my motto is.
Right. Coding, 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 and run and fall and run again.
Yeah.
You're giving us mottos today. Yes. Pratik, after this, I really want to know what is some advice that you would like to give young, young aspirers to get good jobs in the industry, and how should they inculcate their process of building a very good resume while they are in the process of getting a good job.
See, first thing is that I'll say to each and every aspirants like who are looking for their dream job, build your skills. If you get your skills, you'll get enough things to write in your resume. If the if you have the skill sets, if you have the content in your resume, companies will actually be interested in you. And this will actually help you to land in your dream job. And I'll say again, never stop chasing your dreams. Like it's not like that today you have not able to clear it. Don't lose out hopes. Build on your skills. See, you can always say that you are not ready for it, or you are not. You need to work more on your skills. So continue doing that. Like, see now the I'll say the online platform has become too good. You can find resources anywhere. So it's very easy to get learn things. There are a lot of training things out there. If you want to learn new things, if you're not able to get it from your colleges and other things, you can try things online. There are a lot of stuffs available. You can learn from that. You can build up your skills and practice on those skills. See, I'll not say that today you've learned a few things. You've done 2 algorithms today, and if you don't practice for 6 months, you're going to forget that. So always brush up your skills. Like, see, always have time. Like, suppose if you want to learn that, I'll do 2 hours of new things, but always spare 1 hour for your old things also, so that you brush up daily. Because the old things, how much you brush, it will shine up more. So that's actually like I'll say like people generally do that. I know. Like I've done it. I know about it. But when you ask after 6 months or 1 year, they will forget those things. So continuously brush up your skills.
Right, that makes sense. We have a question in the by the viewers. Leela Sai Prasant wants to know if they want us to clear their myth. If they want to define their skill set according to the company, should they redesign? Should they edit their resume just according to the company, or should they be clear about what their skill set is?
See, there's certain set of skill sets that you will have it. But as I said, for a particular thing, see, most of the companies will not look for certain skill sets in fresher candidates. This is general vague. But nowadays, few companies are looking for people who can code from day one. They have a certain set of applications. Those are small companies, those are small startups, which are looking for candidates for certain skill sets. So when those hirings come up, you need to modify your resume accordingly. So I mentioned in my PPT also, said that modify your resume as per job description. Like, see, there are few companies which have strength of like 50 or 100 people also, but they're doing very good innovative stuffs. And you know those technologies. When you see a job description, I know those technologies, but I need to reform my resume so that it looks attractive. So the person who is reviewing my resume get interested into my profile. So we should modify it. I'll say that we should modify it as per the job descriptions. You can have a standard format if you're not like if you're doing a bulk. I'll say like people go for bulk upload also sometimes like that. I'll apply for 5-10 jobs. Your friends have told you, but be selective also. Give your time. See, as you want hiring managers to go through your resume, they should give time to your resume. You should also give time to the job description also. Like it will take 5 to 10 minutes to go through a job description. Then you can modify it easily. See, after a certain time, you will have 5 to 10 like templates also. You can upload it from there, and just you have to modify the dates and those things also only.
So Pratik, now that we're talking about modifying your resume accordingly, can you tell us, do you think there is a difference between the kind of resume you would make for a startup as compared to a resume that you would make for a bigger organization, like an enterprise?
Yeah, for me, it will be the startups will have a single product. Most of the times, they will have a single product. They will be dealing with certain set of technologies, whereas enterprise will deal with multiple products. And when they hire a candidate, they hire for the organization, and then they see where they can best fit this person. But startups has one or two products in a major, so they have to fit it there itself. So during interview round, they will, like when they're screening up, they will figure out whether this person will be able to sit in my project or not, or whether in the product or not, whether that person has the required skills or not. So for me, I will have that different sets of resumes.
Right. Pratik, we have a lot of questions about resume templates. So which one should people go for? Should they get resume templates or should they make one for themselves which is personalized?
If you can do a personalized one, see, anyhow you get an editable form, editable Word document. Anytime you can modify it as per your, if you want to give a personalized touch to it. See, as I said, that resume is an advertisement that you can do for yourself. So basically, as this motto itself, so you can modify it according to, you can show your creativity there also. Like people have seen actually, like around a year back, I show a resume, and I like that the way in which the chart that the person used for showing the skill sets. So it was quite innovative. So people do that, and actually that actually sometimes uh, stuck to you, like, okay, this person has done something special about it. So you can do that personalization, and see, it's a continuous improvement process. You create your resume and then work on it every day. Suppose you're learning something, you have to modify it, and then you can modify according. See, you've chosen one template. I'll say if you continuously modify it, in a month or two itself, you'll say that your template from where you have started, it has totally changed now, because you're adding so much of skills, you're adding so many things, adding so many things. So few things are not relevant now, few things are relevant. If you have to add few things, you try to get those details, and in that process, you'll see the change in your format itself.
Right, that makes sense. We also have some questions regarding, is there a difference between making a resume for a service-based company as compared to making a resume for a product-based company?
Again, I'll not say much on that, but like, see, most of the service-based companies that I've seen till now doesn't go much on skills on the initial phases. They are having coding rounds and those things, but those are very basics. Uh, so for them, like when I was like Infosys was a mass recruiter for us also, and I think that the process remains the same. Now they are going for hot skills also, like they are paying more, but it's more like they actually train the people on certain technologies. Like Infosys has a separate training center. Even TCS, those companies are having their own training centers. So and they train the people, and then they work on those technologies. So like they have a lot of projects. They will see this person is trained on this technology, and they will put into that project. Whereas big enterprises actually look for your problem solving skills, how deep you have knowledge on data structures and everything. So actually you will see the differences like in the interview process itself.
Right, that's true. That's true. We have one question here from Mr. Daksh Prajapati. They want to know, suppose they have very basic knowledge like syntax, and if they have very basic programs that they know about, then in big data, how should they still mention that in their resume?
As I said, you can have 3 different sections, or you can set your proficiency level, like on a scale of 10 or on a scale of 5. I rate 1 of 5. So I know like my proficiency level is basic right now. And as I learn it, I can scale it up again. Like I can make it 2, I can make 3. So as I said, like if you start learning something new, if you know the basics that I'll be able to answer basic questions in the interview, then add those skills. Unless you're very sure about that, you'll not be able to, or whether you will be able to answer or not. Once you're sure about it that I'll be able to answer questions now in the interview, then add the skill. And as you build up on those skills, try to increase the proficiency on that, on the resume. So as I said, you should always modify your resume at the regular intervals. So that's how you can do it.
That's great, Pratik. Pratik, it's been a very depthful conversation with you, and I'm sure that everyone's learned so much from you today. We've got our mottos for the day, that is run and fall. So we've enjoyed this conversation with you today, and thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me. Like it was nice to interact.
Nice to interact with you too, Pratik. Uh, I think we're going to be moving ahead in our conversation and in our talk today. Now, we'll be talking to Mr. Tinku Monish after this, and we'll be welcoming him from London. Mr. Tinku is working with Facebook at this point of time, and previously he has worked with Amazon, Goldman Sachs, etc. He is going to be talking about the process of getting into Facebook today. While we are going to be inviting Mr. Tinku right now, I would like to bring more light towards Career Launchpad. That is a conclave where we invite you to talk to various dignitaries from Facebook, Flipkart, Google, and Microsoft, and of course, Mr. Saurabh Shukla from mysurgery.com. We'll also be organizing a live workshop with Mr. Siddharth Maheshwari, who will be taking us on the journey of learning Python programming. Apart from this, of course, we're going to be hosting the much awaited and the super exciting coding contest that everyone is waiting for. Of course, you get exciting prizes in this coding contest and also participation certificates. We'll be inviting Mr. Tinku, but in the meantime, I would like to prompt everyone to take a look at Newton School Launchpad. The link has been provided on the description below. Newton School Launchpad is a platform where we get you to become job ready and enhance your skill set to become absolute rock stars when you're getting your jobs. It's a zero cost initiative where you can where you can enhance your skills and also take up real-time assignments while you are in the journey of practicing to become perfect for a job. I would suggest that everyone take a look at the Launchpad link that has been provided in the description below. In the meantime, I would suggest everyone to keep asking questions while we are on the live, so that if these questions are not answered by the speakers, we'll be answering them in the comments section below. If you are interested in learning more about Java and Python, we would suggest you to take a look at the links below and take a look at Newton School Launchpad, where you get certifications for completion, get a part in the developer community, get some best instructors to teach you, and get the right knowledge. You get hands-on experiences by doing real-time assignments, so that you can become job ready to get the job that you've always wanted to. We'll be inviting Mr. Tinku, who will talk about Facebook and how his journey has been while getting into Facebook. I shall be inviting him right now. Hi Tinku, can you listen? Can you hear us?
Hey, yes. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are able to hear you. We'd like you to start your video as well.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good.
I'd
Thank
like to
you.
tell the audience you're joining live from London right now, right?
Yeah.
How have you been doing there right now?
Yeah, I just came over here in March, so I've been in office for only a week and I've been working from home since then. It's
Oh,
okay,
so
but yeah, the work is nice.
explored the streets yet, huh?
Sorry?
Not haven't explored the streets yet, and
Yeah,
in the house.
exactly. More or less, I am just, house arrested.
Right, right. That's great, Tinku. And I'll give the podium to you. You can start your talk now.
Okay, sure. So I have some pretty bad slides for you people, so bear with me.
As far as the information is good enough, we're good with the bad slides.
Yeah. Okay. Full screen.
Present.
Yeah. Get into Facebook as a software developer. How? Seems like a big task, right? But really, it isn't. Like, if you get the basics right, it should be pretty, easy to get into any big tech company that you can think of. So I'll give you a small introduction about myself, and then we can talk about how my journey to Facebook happened. And later, the majority of the portion, I'll leave it for you people to ask me some questions if you have any. So where am I from? So I did my bachelor's and master's from IIIT Hyderabad, dual degree program. How did I end up there? The normal IIT JEE coaching. I didn't crack the old IITs, which was pretty sad, but still IIIT was a very good college. So when there got into the dual degree program, I have a master's degree, which is in research. Later, during the college itself, I applied off campus for some internships, Goldman Sachs and Amazon. I did a couple of internships. I got offers from both the companies. I decided Amazon was the best thing back then, even though the money was more in Goldman Sachs. But I felt Amazon was the best thing. Then I worked in Amazon for 1.5 years, and then I basically started looking for other roles. I felt that even though my work is technically challenging, it is not giving much of a real world impact. So I thought, why not? Let's apply for some company which has a lot of users. So Facebook and Google were the obvious choices, and I applied for Facebook. So how am I related to Newton School? So during my Facebook preparation, that was the time I just started about thinking of switching companies. Uh, and Newton School people approached me with a wonderful opportunity. It was basically to mentor people who are sort of have the same aim as me, but might need some direction regarding how to prepare, which things to concentrate on, which direction to move in, and to get some contacts in general. So I started as a mentor in Newton School from September till I worked till December, and I couldn't continue later because of some other commitments. One thing I can say about them was the bunch of people that are running it are very passionate, and the bunch of people that come into the school are very passionate about themselves as well. Like they want to improve, and that's the best part. You need talent and you need commitment as well. So yeah, I like that about them. So it was. The journey was hand in hand. I was preparing for companies and I was helping some people to prepare for companies as well. So it worked out wonderfully for both of us. So yeah, let's get to the core part of this whole journey. Like, what are the main steps involved in any job search? First, it'll be the profile searching, what things you want to apply for. Then comes the part where you prepare your resume. And at the end, the interview preparation. Let's dive deep into each of those aspects. So, profile searching. Yeah, it depends on, you can see there are a lot of things that go into it. Like, first of all, experience. Sorry. In my case, I've been working for 1.5 years, so it doesn't make much sense for me to, apply for a university grad role or a beginner level role. Because and Amazon was a good company as well. Like sometimes you have to take a experience hit when you want to switch from a company which is not doing pretty good to a company which is brilliant. But in my case, I was already in a good company, so I was not ready to take the hit. So I started applying for medium level experience roles like SD2s, and then the impact. So this was the main thing that drove me. If you ask, I was in the shipping team in Amazon. We used to generally ship packages, but you know, I couldn't see much of a real world impact. So I thought FB has 2.5 billion users and Google is used by even more people. Why not apply to those companies? So those two were shortlisted there. And then the technical skills. So see, multiple people have multiple specialty areas. I had a machine learning master's and I did a lot of software development stuff. Some people might be interested in front end, some people might be interested in back end. So all those go into consideration as well. Like you can't be a back end engineer and directly apply for front end roles because it won't make much sense to you. Like I can go to Facebook in a front end role, but I won't be enjoying that role. So you should take those things into consideration as well. Then comes the location. Yeah, I get people like some of them want to move to US, some of them want to move to London and any other European location. Some of them want to stay back in India, which is completely fine. So the location go into that as well. And finally, the finances. You can see the infinite loop of money. Everyone's so tempted to get more money than they actually have. So you can search for profiles. Obviously, some companies will pay much higher than other companies for the same work, but the reputation varies. So you should also shortlist your profiles based on all these factors. At least I think these are some very good indicators. Then once you finalized on those profiles, in my case I finalized on a very few companies. Actually I had some location constraints. I thought of moving to London, and I also had the impact constraints, which reduced my search space to 3 to 4 companies only. I applied for Google, Facebook, and there's one more company called Palantir, and I applied for those. So once you shortlisted those companies, you need to make your resume specific to the role that you are applying to. See, I had a lot of experience in machine learning, but that did not make any sense for a software development role in some of the companies. So there is no point in highlighting those aspects which are not required for your actual job. It is better to highlight those purposes. Like you can mention, see, I have coded 50,000 lines in production, or I have done this, I've developed this system. So those things are more valued in the software development side. And instead of writing, I have a research paper in so and so, that doesn't make much sense. So you should first of all mold your resume based on the job profile. Second axis is basically the company type. Different companies value different aspects of your profile. Like I can be honest here, like some companies like Facebook is obsessed with your profiles, HackerRank profile, Codeforces profile, CodeChef profile. Like you can say, I have 25 rank in January long contest. So those things matter as well. Like for Facebook, writing that will get you some brownie points, but for some other company, it won't. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, and the final thing is the combination of the first two. You need to project your profile as a particular type. For Facebook, I projected my profile as a software engineer rather than a researcher or something else. So yeah, you need to project your resume, and I would suggest to have different resume for different companies that you're applying for, and different resume for different profiles that you're applying for. There's no need to change the entire resume, but you can obviously change the parts that you can concentrate on. Okay, how did I prepare? Uh, you can say that no one can directly start from the scratch and go to or get into a very good software company in 60 days, but it's a constant process. Like, I had a good base. I've been in triple IT, and I did a bit of coding to get into my internships. But after 1.5 year in my job, all of them are a bit, rough. Like, I wasn't polished as such, so I had to go through the whole preparation process again to get there. So this is one book that I can suggest eyes closed. So this helped me a lot. There is a book called Data Structures and Algorithms Made Easy. So what is this book? This book has more or less all the coding topics of computer science, and they have the popular models inside it. Like, there is stock buy and sell problem, so there are like 4 or 5 variations in it, and these people more or less cover all the basic variations, so that you'll be accustomed to all the basics. You'll have strong basics before you go and start coding in the actual websites. And there's one more constant for me, which is lead code. In my opinion, you can code as much as you want without direction, and that might not help you a lot. So I do targeted practice. So in my case, I applied for Google, Facebook, and Palantir. Google right away rejected me, which is fine. So I concentrated my preparation on Facebook. So Lead Code is a website which has company previous problems, like what are all the like coding things that were asked previously in Facebook interviews and interview experiences and everything. So yeah, I went there, took a subscription, and I started practicing all the old Facebook questions. The best part with it is it's not like a 10th class question bank, and you won't get 10 questions, and if you prepare 10 questions, you'd more or less crack the interview. That doesn't work that way. So Facebook at least had 250 problems, which more or less covers all the aspects of the whole coding, but it's a good place to start with. So I spent a good chunk of time, like 30 days, on basically mastering all the problems in lead code. 250, 30, you can do the math, and it's like 7, 8 problems per day. And as I already told you, I was applying for a bit of medium seniority roles. So for that, there is a requirement of system design. So if you're applying for university grad roles, absolutely no need to have system design preparation, because they won't expect it from you. But uh, if you're 2 years into the industry, they'll expect at least some level of system design from you. So yeah, I had to prepare that. I absolutely had no idea. Like, you can design something in the office, but it is pretty difficult to do interviews. Someone just gives you a problem and you need to come up with a solution, and uh, in 5 minutes, which is pretty challenging if you ask me. So you need to have some preparation for it. So what I did, I used the free resources. Obviously, we have very good Indian YouTubers, who make great YouTube videos. So I remember Gaurav saying, "Tech Dummies." I went through all their YouTube videos. It'll maybe take you 20 hours of time, and I went through all the YouTube videos, and I had a book and pen, and I started noting down important points. Then I took a system design course, which is not a Coursera course. It's basically information. There are different multiple models of system design. So what this website does is it takes all the big companies like Facebook, Messenger, Netflix, Google, like all the big companies, and they'll try to design each of the company. So the best part here is, if you see, our big tech sector is more or less covering the entire spectrum of problems we have. So once you sort of have an idea of how these big tech companies are designed, you'll more or less know the basics of system design. Like, is it a pub sub model? Are they using some queues? Are they doing async processing? Are they doing search engines? How do they store data? How do they partition data? Which type of DB do they use? And all that. And obviously, I don't like to prepare the final few days of my interview, like coding. It will just put you into more tension. So I was just going through interview experiences. It provides you good motivation as well. Like if you see, sometimes you see some person is like, see, they asked me these questions and I told them and I got selected. Then you feel happy. Yeah, we feel that we'll also have a good chance of doing that. So the final few days I was just going through interview experiences and it was light. It wasn't. And if there is a requirement of behavioral questions, just think about the things that they might ask, and yeah, that will help as well. And what's the most challenging part for me here? In college, you have time to do all these things. There are classes, but you still have a good amount of time. But when you're working, it is pretty difficult because you'll have office deadlines, you'll have long days at work, and you'll have, whole lot of factors. Like sometimes you'll feel, okay, I'm earning good amount of money, why should I move? Sometimes you'll feel, is it worth the effort? But yes, I feel that if you are once fixed on moving companies, then it will take 1 or 2 months of constant effort and motivation to make the switch, and you'll never regret it in your life. So the first thing is motivation. You should not get demotivated. You work for 10 days and you're like, no, I can't do it. Let me take a break of like some days, then I'll get back. I don't think it will work that way. The continuity of the preparation is one of the most important factors, and the second part is consistency. So during my Facebook preparation, every day after work, I used to spend 2 or 3 hours uh, consistently, and I used to do it every day, like whatever I used to have. Even I had a long day at work, I came home at 8 7, I still used to spend a couple of hours. And the weekends are especially pretty tricky because you work the whole week, and now you're working extra couple of hours on weekdays, but and you'll be more tempted to take the weekend off. But if you see, weekends are like the biggest chunks of time you'll get. So if you see 2 months, then that'll be like 8 weekends, which you can just think like not your weekends. Then you'll be in a good shape with the preparation. And these are all the factors that help me, but I'll urge you people to have a look at these things. Like, not all people, there is I've observed a herd mentality in most of us. I'm also guilty of that. But I want you people to think before you start applying for companies. Like, you might think Google is a cool company, let me apply to it, or Facebook is a cool company, you can apply to it. But there are multiple factors that you need to consider before you start moving to companies. The first one is, do you want to learn? Is that your primary motivation? Like, right after college, if you want to learn, there are two ways of doing it. First of all, you can join a startup which will have lots of work, and you'll obviously learn by mistakes. You do a lot of work and you learn multiple things. Or you can join a very big company, say like Google, Facebook, or Amazon, where there are experienced people and you learn from their experience. So there are two types of learning. And then the third category, sometimes there are huge trading firms which pay 2x or 3x of what the normal tech companies pay. If you are more into money, go for it. Why not? During my college days, I was pretty much you know only I was thinking, if they pay more, I'll go there. That's it. So it's completely okay to be in that mentality as well. And the fourth one is, if you want to do cool work, sometimes you do work, you earn more, but you won't get the satisfaction. Sometimes you want to build Google search engine, you want to help develop that, you want to work on Google Assistant, or you want to work on Amazon improving some feature. And the fourth factor is, there is a concept of big fish in a small pond. Like, if you go to, say, Amazon, there are hundreds of people who are very intelligent, and you'll be one of the 100 fishes. It's like a huge sea with sharks, whales, and everything. You'll be one more fish in that. I'm not saying you'll not thrive in it, but pretty sure there'll be smarter people than you and more experienced people than you, and you'll be a normal person there. Sometimes if you join a new company or a startup, you'll be a big fish. You are the person they'll come to. Like you are very experienced, and all the people, like your growth will be exponential in those scenarios. They might not pay the dividends right away, but on the longer run they'll be very advantageous. So these are all the factors that you people need to think about before applying, preparing, and starting the whole process. That's it from my side. I'll open uh, Q&A.
That was very insightful, Tinku. We have a few questions that we shall start on. At the same point of time, I would request the audience to prompt questions in the comment section below, and we'll be taking up those questions shortly. Uh, we want to know from you, how much time did you invest in preparing for the interviews at Facebook? And did you give it time before the interview process started? Did you give it a longer duration before the interviews also started?
Okay, so I'll be frank here. I started the process in the first week of October. So generally, what happens? You don't prepare specific to companies at the beginning itself because it is a huge investment. So you search your profiles and you apply to companies and you'll do the generic preparation. You'll prepare all the basic coding concepts and everything. And after the initial screenings, you'll be left with two or three options for sure. You won't get more than those calls. So then you target your preparation towards those companies. Then I started by October 15th, I knew that Google was no longer interested in me, which is fine. My Facebook process was going on and Palantir was still on hold. So I knew that I had to prepare for Facebook. So I took the membership and I started, as I told you, 2-3 hours per day consistently. I've been working on that and even more on weekends. So I was going through all the previous Facebook questions, all the general coding things, system design. It was a big investment. 2 months. You can just do the math. It shouldn't be pretty difficult. It should be around 2 to 300 hours.
2 to 300 hours of regular invested practicing, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Right. That is very interesting and in fact inspiring. And that kind of ended up in a scenario where you got a job at Facebook in London. So how does your day look at Facebook right now? Considering that you are working in the in Europe right now, how does a developer's day look there?
Okay, so in India, the advantage was that we used to have our own timings. Like I used to go office at 11:30, and I used to work till 7:30, and there was no social life. But here, people are very specific about it. They start at 9, they end at 5, and they won't reply you anytime else. So if you want to work with people, you need to follow those timings as well, and it's a good way to do it. So my day generally starts at 9. We generally have a stand up where everyone gives updates of what they're doing, and if they have any things that they're stuck on, like the team members help them out. And after that, for an hour or two, I do code reviewing because I'm in the second level. I'm an SD2 here, so I need to do some code reviewing as a part of my job profile. So I review others' codes, I unblock them, I try to help people, and that goes for a couple of hours. Then I have some focus block from 11 to 3 where I generally don't reply to messages. I just work on the stuff I need to work on. And from 3, I might have a couple of meetings, design meetings, and all. And my day ends at 5, like 4:35 is good.
That's super cool. I think I'm gonna write your schedule down to make sure that I'm also, kind of practicing something very similar. Because as it is, all of us need to learn the punctuality lessons, right? Uh, so now, moving forward to a few questions that the audience has been asking, but we would like to know what is that one problem you think that aspiring developers face, and how should they work on the same?
So what I see as a thing is how do I put it? Once you start getting something, you'll get more of it. It's like money. If you have more money, you'll get more money easily. So even this is the same way. Like if you are in X company, which is good, it is easier for you to get into Y company, which is equally good. So it's a gradual process. The first step is the most difficult one. Like cracking the first internship for me was the most difficult because I didn't have anything on my back to show them. Like I didn't have any solid things. It was my preparation and the company's trust in me. So I would, for an aspiring developer, I think the challenging part is cracking the first opportunity. It might be small, it might be big, and your career is long. It's like 50 years. So go for the first opportunity, gradually build up your profile. Like you can start with some company, X company, then after 1 or 2 years you can see some growth and you'll be confident in yourself. Like you know that you're doing good in X company and you might do good in a company which is bigger than this, so you'll go there. And it's like a chain where you need to invest time. Like it's a marathon rather than a sprint. Like I sometimes the problem here is sometimes companies do resume shortlisting based on colleges, which will make it difficult for some people to directly crack the big guns. So sometimes you need to have good referrals as well. Like from the Newton school, some people asked me and I sort of reviewed their resumes and tried to give them referrals to Amazon and everything. So that will help as well. But you need to realize that gradual thing is also a good way to go to the top.
Yeah, that makes sense. The gradual way is the way to go to the top. But a lot of freshers are at a lot of times feel hesitant while they are applying to organizations and even startups. So how do freshers showcase their skill set while they are applying to organizations while they're just getting done with their education?
Okay, so right out of college, I know we don't have many things to showcase. We might have an internship or a two, but all we'll have is like organizer of a hackathon, organizer of a fest, which are not too impactful from the organization's point of view. They are a bit, but not too much. So I would rather concentrate on writing your technical projects. Like everyone will have some technical projects in their college which are specific to the company. If I'm applying for Amazon, I can write, I developed a system which does some accounting or course portal, something like that. It makes sense for them to see that this person has some experience in this. And once you write your projects and if you have any achievements, then you should go to someone who's either working in the company or some experience with this resume and the whole process. They'll obviously see some ways to improve your resume and it'll go through some refinement and it'll improve your chances. And in the final stage, if you directly apply, most probably it won't be accepted. Even if I apply right now to a company directly from their portal, I'm pretty sure they'll reject me, even if I'm working in Facebook. Referrals is a good process. Like it'll improve your chances exponentially. Ping people in LinkedIn. They'll help you. I've seen people in LinkedIn very helpful. Like I help people. Like some of them ping me directly in LinkedIn and they're like, please give me a referral. And I was like, okay, send me a resume, I'll refer you to Facebook. And similar thing happens with every other company. If you want to apply to Amazon, ping someone that's working in Amazon and don't ping me, hi, I need Amazon referral. That won't work. Tell them your short intro, I'm so and so from so and so college, I have these good things for going for me, can you please refer me? That will give a good impression, then get the referral and go for it.
That's quite insightful. So we want to know, how do you focus on the preparation then instead of, focusing on stress? Because everyone kind of has that stress while they're going through the process of interviews. So how do you mitigate that stress? How do you deal with it? And at the same point of time, be focused on your preparations.
Okay. Uh, Maybe I'm not the best person to answer this. I'll be, honest here because I had some or the other backup plan my entire path. So I know people will be even more stressful situations that who are preparing. But in my case, yes. You need to think about the destination. Thinking about destination will provide you motivation. People tend to think about what happens when they don't go to the destination, which is stressful. But I tend to think about what happens when they go to the destination, which is inspiring. Like I used to think that, okay, I'll go to Facebook, earn big bucks, then I'll pay off my father's loan or something like that. So that will inspire you to work longer and think in a clearer mind. Like you'll have more positive attitudes towards preparation. And I didn't think that what happens if I don't get into Facebook. It There is always that, but I think thinking on the positive side of things will help you. And sometimes if you prepare a lot, then you'll obviously be stressed. You need to take a break, for sure. Like some days you just feel like, okay, this is too much. What if I don't get, I'm trying this much, and what if I don't get into the thing I'm working for? Then those days, order a biryani, watch a movie, take a day off, and start fresh the next day.
That's cool. Order a biryani and take a day off. So, we want to know what are some quick tips that you could give to young developers today who are trying to practice hard for getting their dream jobs.
Okay, so I have a few things. I used to regularly interview in Amazon, so I can think of a few things that might help them in interviewing and all. First one is, uh, be open to learning. Like sometimes you want to say something, and the interviewer say, "Why not this way?" People's first reaction is a defensive one. They're like, my thing works, why should I go there? Like be open to suggestions. Like you can say, okay, this thing works as well, this is this much complexity, and my thing is this much complexity. Maybe we can do a hybrid thing, maybe this is better, maybe mine is better. Like be open to feedback. That is one of the things most companies will value, because at the end of the day you'll be joining a team and you'll have four people you need to work with. And if they say something, you can't say no, I won't do it, I'm right. It should always be open culture. So that is one thing I saw. And the second thing is, be prepared for the interviews. uh, like when someone asks interviewer asks you something like a graph related problem, which can be done in a very efficient way, but you don't know that, you can give them the way, like the brute force one, which might not be the ideal one, but they'll know that something. Like sometimes the tendency is that if I don't whenever someone asks me a question, I try to go for the most efficient one. And if I don't know the efficient one, I won't even give the information that I have for the normal approaches. So I suggest people to uh, just think out loud in the interviews. Explain the interviewer your thought process. Like you can say, okay, I'm thinking this algorithm, but this is this much complexity, this algorithm, this will help here, but this is the problem. Like think out loud, and the interviewer will know your thought process. And most of the times it is very helpful when compared to not talking at all.
Yeah, that's true. So you said that you've worked with Amazon as well, and now that you're working with Facebook. What is the difference between your preparation while you were applying at Amazon and what is while you were applying at Facebook? What was the difference like?
Yes. So basically, for Amazon, I was an intern. Sorry, I directly applied as an intern. So for interns, there is no system design at all. All they knew is coding. So the first part stayed the same. I went through Karmanchi the first time. It's a very boring book, trust me, but you need to get through it. I went through Karumanchi and I sort of got my basics right. Then I got some confidence. Like the best part is the book has many problems in common with the lead code, the website that you'll be using for the preparation, or lead code, interview bit, name it. But you can use that. So then I started lead code. Initially, I was very slow, and sometimes if I see whatever the code I wrote right now, I laugh out loud because it was so bad. But yeah, it is still there. Like, try to solve the problems in lead code, and it's a gradual process. You'll constantly improve. Sometimes instead of arrays you use vectors, instead of C you use C++, sometimes maps. Like, you constantly improve your speed of coding and the efficiency of coding as well. So the initial things, you might be disappointed that you're not very efficient, but ultimately you will be, trust me. Like, with 45 days, 60 days of preparation, you'll reach there. So for Amazon, I prepared only the coding part. And for any interview, I'd suggest you should know your resume inside out. Like, it won't look good on you if you write that I'm a React developer and the interviewer asks you some React basics and you have no idea what's happening there. Whatever you write in your resume, you should know that, and they can ask it in any way. In my Amazon interviews, I wanted to seem cool, and I wrote that I built a sort of search engine for Wikipedia. Then my interviewer started digging deep on it. I was a bit startled. I never expected that they will ask those questions, but yeah, anything is possible. So be thorough with your resume. When coming to Facebook, the biggest challenge was the system design that I told you, because coding is always there. Once you do it, an year or year and a half later, if you polish it, it will be ready in some time. But system design is the difficult bit, and it is difficult because it's subjective as well. Like, I can say no SQL database, you can say an SQL database. I need to defend my stance. And if I don't know well the concepts of different databases, I can't defend my stance. So for system design, you need to be thorough in what you're saying. Don't go for the buzzwords. Don't go, I'll use machine learning here. What if the interviewer asks you what model will you use? It'll be difficult for you. So go for the plain things. Be thorough with what you know. And yeah, that's the difference, mainly the system design component.
Right. You have thrown some light on the preparations that you've done, but can you tell us more? So there's a question by Zishan. He wants to know what were your rounds in the interview process at Facebook?
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought of putting that slide in. I forgot. I just remembered. Okay. Yeah. So initially, when I applied for Facebook, I got the recruiter's call right away. Like, the interview process works differently for Indian companies and companies here. So in Indian companies, the HR round is the last round. Like, when you pass the technical things, then they'll see whether you're a good fit or not. Here, that's more or less the first thing they do. They call you, they'll try to learn what your profile is, what your journey has been. Are you actually interested in the company or not? And or you're just applying for the name of it. So they called me. I talked to them, and both of us agreed on some common things. So that was good. And I had an initial phone screen setup. So on-site interviews are difficult. They need to fly me to London, fly me back. It's a costly process for them. So they generally try to do screen interviews, so a video calling interview. So I had my first video call interview, and frankly speaking, it was not good. So they asked me a couple of questions, and The first one was I gave the answer right away. The second one was a bit, you know, I didn't give the exact efficient answer. The best part is I was constantly thinking out loud. I was saying, see, I'm thinking this way. This is the complexity. I can do this. This can happen. So, uh, so the interviewer was not convinced. He didn't approve my on-site. He didn't reject me. So they had one more on screen for me. So I had one more telephonic interview, and this time I got it right. Like the first time around, I was maybe a bit tensed because I got Facebook and it's the only thing in my hand right then. So then for the second one, I was a bit relaxed, and the interview went pretty well, and they scheduled an on-site interview. uh, till this point, I never prepared system design because I knew the initial phone screens won't have the system design related components. So once I got the on-site call, which will have 4 rounds, then I started preparing system design. So I took 5 weeks for it. For the preparation, visa, I need to get a visa. I need to prepare things, and Christmas vacation was coming in, so I need to do before it as well. So I took 5 weeks, and I started preparing for that. Then they flew me here. There were 4 rounds. The first one was a behavioral plus coding round. I told you it's important, the behavioral part. So they asked me questions: what happens when you don't agree with your manager? What happens when you fight with someone on the team? All these random questions, and they asked me a small coding question. But yeah, that was a behavioral round. Then I had two coding questions, which my the people I was mentoring in Newton School, we discussed those same questions before going to the interview. So that was helpful. So two coding rounds, and there was a system design round. So in the system design round, they asked me a question: design a Facebook check-in feature, and that's the problem statement. They didn't give me more details. Uh, and I asked him how many places. There are like 200 crore places. So it was a very challenging one. I got through the interview and everything went well. And later, within a day, the same day itself, I got an offer.
That's super cool. Can you tell us about? So, a lot of questions are, a lot of people are asking about the technicalities of the interview. What kind of technical? What was the technical round like? What kind of technicalities do they expect from their candidates who are applying?
Uh, in terms of questions,
Yeah, like when you're applying in the interview.
okay. Is there a chat there that I can ping a link in? I pinged the link. I wrote all the questions and my responses and what I prepared there. So that might be helpful for you people.
Yeah.
Did you get the link? There's a lead code link. I wrote an interview experience there.
Yeah, so we'll be sharing that lead code link with our viewers in the comment section on the YouTube live. And in the meantime, if you could just throw some light on the same.
Okay, sure. So the initial phone screens won't be too difficult because they're just screening you. It's not an interview or a decision process. So the questions will be pretty simple, like vectors, arrays, like all the hash maps, small concepts, not too big. There'll be no trees, there'll be no graphs, there'll be no DP, greedy, the all the difficult topics. Those won't be there. The initial phone screens will be light, and they'll ask you small questions which won't involve too much. But in the interviews, if you see my interview, uh, my my questions were basically one was DP, one was greedy, and one was a normal array, and one was a stack. So they more or less covered the spectrum. They didn't go for the graphs or the trees, but they covered the stacks, queues, and stuff, and they covered all the algorithmic techniques, dynamic programming, greedy approaches, and strings. They covered the spectrum as such. So in general, even in Amazon, when I was interviewing, we were asked to cover spectrums. Like there'll be a couple of interviews. If the first interview you get a question regarding dynamic programming and a vector, the second interview will most probably involve some graph questions or tree questions, because we want to cover all the topics and know your expertise in all the things. So in the same way, they covered the spectrum for me in the rounds, and the design round was, they asked me to design the Facebook check-in feature. Like the question was like, you have 200 billion places. When you do check-in in Facebook, you see only the 10 closest places to us. So how do you search the 10 closest places to you? You have locations, but it's not very easy. It seems easy, but it's not very easy. So you need to relate things with what you know already. So as I was saying, I was doing the course, and there was one system design around how Zomato works. Zomato is more or less the same thing, right? You search the restaurant and it will show you the closest restaurants. So there is an underlying algorithm, which identifies the closest places to you. So I took the same algorithm, but improved it for high scale. Like Zomato might have 10,000, 1 lakh restaurants, but Facebook will have 200 crore places. So I took the thing I knew and I expanded on it. So that thing is very important for the interviews, because they generally do a small tweak of the question to the question you already know. So you need to identify that.
Right, that's nice. So there are a few questions, and that have been asked in the questions in the YouTube live and a lot of students and a lot of freshers especially want to know about how to apply to Facebook off campus. They want to know more about the process of application, how to initiate the same. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So basically, two things. Every company will have a careers page. You can go there, see the open roles, and after seeing the open roles, you can either apply directly if you are very confident that they'll shortlist you, or you can go to LinkedIn, search for someone who works there, then write them a good message and convince them to refer you, because it is a process for them to refer you as well, because it's not like you upload a resume and your referral is done. You need to fill in how the person is, do you know, like a big page of details. So write a good LinkedIn message, ping the person. I'd suggest that approach for any company, Amazon, Google, or even the normal, the not so tech giants. You can say companies like Qualcomm and other companies. Ping someone who's already working there and get a referral. That is the best way, if you ask me.
Right, that makes great sense. It has been amazing talking to you today, Tinker, and we're glad that you could join us. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a great talk with you.
Sure.
Thanks.
I too enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Have a nice time. Bye.
Yep. Bye bye. So now we'd be taking a break for an hour, and we'll invite you to join us at 7 o'clock to enhance your skills of Python programming. We'd be led by Mr. Siddharth Maheshwari, who's the co-founder of Newton School in this journey. If you're looking forward to learn more, please find links in the description. And we're looking forward to seeing you all at 7 o'clock today.